Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Sugar Mama's Fireplate Podcast. I am financial planner Canna Campbell. A very quick reminder, please refer to my general advice warning and my license details, because I always want to let you know that my content is general advice only. It's never product advice, it's never strategic advice, it's never investment advice, and it's never personal advice. Whenever there's something you hear that you think, oh, I'd like to know more about that and know if it's right for me, please go and talk to a licensed, qualified, experienced financial planner. All right, everyone, really exciting. We're talking about holidays, something that a lot of us haven't had for a really long time, and we're all probably desperately craving after so many lockdowns and so much stress we've all been going through. So this morning we are joined by Kelsey. Kelsey has been on my podcast before where she's shared her traveling hacks. And it's funny, I've been stalking Kelsey for, a year and a half now. And she even came and met me in my office in Sydney when she was traveling. And whenever I look at her Instagram account, which I will link in the podcast description, she's always in another country, state, destination, and she always looks like she's having the most amazing time. You can just see in her eyes like the joy of exploring and having a new adventure, whether it be alone, with friends, or with her boyfriend. You know, she really is a beautiful soul, and it's so inspiring. And she's doing this on a budget. She was a student for a period of time. But she's never let money hold her back. And she still has a great balance in her own financial affairs, in that she travels, but she also invests. She travels, but she also saves her money. She travels, but she also has a budget. You know, she's just not being financially responsible, but she's still allowing herself to travel. And today she's going to share with us 14 to 16 of her best financially savvy travel hacks. And I'm going to maybe chime in a few of my own along the way. Kelsey, thank you so much for coming back onto Sugar Mama's Fireplay. It's so great to connect with you again. And you're dialing in from Hawaii.
Yeah, thank you again so much for having us. I'm just so excited to talk to you again. And I know your borders are finally opening. Yay. So I am ready to equip all the Australians with the travel tips they need, since they had a year off and are probably a little rusty.
Oh, well, thank you. Let's get cracking straight away, because I know all the listeners are just dying to hear the hacks, because I had lunch with my girlfriend is from South America, and her husband's from Spain, and they were saying we can't, it's great the borders are open, but we can't get back. I think they're looking at $20,000 in airfares just to get home, which is madness. So please share everything.
Yeah. Okay. So my number one hack would be weekend travel. That's how I get most of my traveling in for like joy trips, just trips that I want to do. And so the way that I do it usually is I will leave Friday night and we'll come back usually Sunday night or Monday morning and just go straight into work. But like, you'll be surprised how far you can go on a weekend trip. Like, we just went to Montana. I'm based in LA. So we've done Montana, Utah, Arizona. My partner has done Hawaii. So you'll be surprised how far you can really go.
I completely agree with that. And it's funny, even from a mindset perspective, let alone travel, a lot of people think, oh, your weekend begins on Sunday morning and finishes on Sunday night. For me, that's not true at all. My weekend begins on Friday afternoon, the moment I clock off from work and turn my computer off. My weekend begins right then and there. And it doesn't end until I put the keys in the door to the office or sit down at my computer and go through my emails. So effectively, for me, every weekend is almost a long weekend, because it begins Friday afternoon and ends Monday morning. And when you have that type of mindset, you really do make the most of your weekend, and you value the weekend so much more. And I feel like I feel it up more. I've got a much healthier attitude. But you're right, you can use that time to explore more. So great tip there. Leave on a Friday evening, get back on a Monday morning or a Sunday night, like stretch out and make the most of every single hour of your weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And with flights, I think you can go, 3 or 4 hours of the flight, which is still a couple 100 miles. And then driving, same kind of thing. I would say 3 or 4 hours of a drive after work is pretty reasonable. And then to get to your next destination, which for some people could be the next state over.
And the other thing with driving is Tom and I are really strict on driving but if you can share the driving, it makes it much, much safer. And of course, everyone should stop, revive, survive, have a pit stop, have a break, get some fresh air. You never want to push yourself, but sharing the driving does mean you can explore further on a budget, particularly if you're all in the one car together rather than pay for like 4 or 5 airfares if you're a family. Get in the car, share the trip together. It's a great time to connect as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next tip was maximizing your holiday weekends. So that can be done 2 ways. So if you have a Friday or a Monday off, you just extend that into a bigger trip. So you would do, if you had Friday off, you'd leave Thursday night and go until Monday morning when you would go straight to work, or Sunday night. But there's another way to do it, which I did for Tanzania. And we ended up only taking 4 days off, and it was like a 10-day trip. So we ended up like scheduling the holiday weekend or our trip around the holiday weekend. So basically my boss was giving me paid time off for, I think it was Labor Day. And then we ended up getting like 4 extra days that we took paid time off for, but it's basically like getting 1 free day of paid time off.
Absolutely. Strategically plan your holidays around public holidays. What I recommend everyone does is at the beginning of the year, look up what all the public holidays are for the year ahead of you and look at whether they fall on a Friday or a Wednesday or a Tuesday or a Monday, and build your weekends and weekends away and holidays around those days so that you're not eating into all your annual leave. It's amazing when you do this properly, you can actually strategically time your holidays so that you're not eating into your annual leave. In fact, the whole thing is completely paid and you're barely touching that bank of annual leave, which is really quite valuable when it adds up over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And the country-specific holidays are important too, because it might be really expensive to go somewhere for holiday within Australia if it's a country like specific holiday, but the rest of the world doesn't recognize that country or that holiday.
Yes.
So it's not going to have any more expensive than a normal time.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at where your public holiday falls and where the other state, because we don't necessarily share the same public holidays between the various states in Australia, but also as other countries as well. What other religious festivities where the flights go up, the accommodation goes up, but it's not necessary for you. Like, plan around those things. Do your research.
So the next tip would be pet sit, house sit, or house swap. So pet sitting and house sitting can be, side hustle. And then a house swap would just be like, for example, with Hawaii, we have a friend on Maui. And so they house swap kind of with us where they like stay in our kind of city and then we stay at their house and we house swap with them.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And it's awesome because you get to like feel like a local because you have a dog. No one thinks you're a tourist. And you're always like, you can ask them like, to write a list of all the places that you should go and you should do and like when to do it. Like, for example, they have like the lava going on in Hawaii right now. And they're like, oh, I kind of thought we should go during the day, but they're like, no, you'll be able to see it better at nighttime, which is just like cool insider tips.
Oh, absolutely. And also I find, when we, for example, we stay at an Airbnb, you're living the life of a local. So you get to really see from a local's eyes, like what the day-to-day life is like, what the lifestyle, what the common interests of people, all those little insider, like, I guess, hacks or insider knowledge as to how to make the most of your time rather than seeing it from the eyes of a tourist, with room service. And I guess, don't get me wrong, I love a lovely hotel, but there's something a little bit different and I guess more meaningful when you stay, in someone's home and get that different lifestyle. It's a great way to save money as well.
Absolutely. Which leads to another tip of just visit friends when they offer. Like when you have friends who are like, oh, come visit me. And you're like, yeah, that'd be great. But then people don't actually do it. Yeah. I've done it with friends where I'm like, heck yes. Like, don't like tempt me with a good time. I'm in. And I've gone all over the place because they've moved different. Like my friend just moved to Dallas. And so I went to visit him and now he's moved to Miami. And I'm like, let me know when I can come. Absolutely.
And look, if you're returning the favor, like, I think that's a great idea. Like, people offer because they genuinely want people to come and visit and stay with them. And so it's welcoming people into your home is an honor. And, it's so much fun as well. It's a great bonding opportunity to get to know, create deeper friendships. So I think it's a brilliant idea. And as I said, return the favor. And I know we Tom and I live in Bondi and we love having people come and stay with us. We made sure we had a spare bedroom, which we haven't put the kids into because we want to be able to always have a spare bedroom ready for family and friends to come and stay. And even, it's funny, we're going away for a weekend and some good friends of ours are going to come and stay at our house so they can have like a staycation whilst we're having a staycation, and they get to live down at Bondi and they can bring their dog, and so they have to worry about paying for, boarding for the weekend. And it's really great because they will, and like for us, you can have breakfast at home as well. So you're saving money rather than going down to the breakfast buffet, which is $50 a head or whatever it might be. It's a great way to save money.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another like tip that I suggest is always try to just eat out once a day. So you can either go to the local supermarket when you get in, or if you're on a road trip, take your food with you. Obviously, I think it's important to try the local cuisine, but that can just be one meal a day.
Exactly, balance.
My partner and I just calculated that if you spend $20 a day on food for a 30-day month, that's $600. So I'm like, oh, that's too much. So if we just do, one meal a day and then eat out, and you can have leftovers. Like we went to the brewery yesterday and got a large pizza, and then we had it for lunch today.
Yeah. Tom and I do this thing where if we're traveling, we'll have like a good breakfast, and that normally fills us up for so much, for a certain amount of hours during the day. And then if we want lunch, like quite often I find in restaurants, they load you up with so much food. You don't necessarily need the whole massive, sandwich and fries and salad. You can quite often, Tom and I will very happily just, get something and share it. We don't need to double up, and that gets us through the day. And then we'll go to a nice restaurant or get some nice takeaway for dinner that night. It's so easy just to load up with so much food on holidays.
Yeah, absolutely. Another tip would be to travel pre or post season. We just did this with Tanzania. Is their high season starts like the first week of June, and we ended up going like 2 weeks before June. So really, the difference in the climate is like kind of unnoticeable.
Yeah,
but it saved us over $1,000 just because people think the high season is when they need to go.
They're going to miss out the weather will be bad if they go. But really, 2 weeks either side, it's not like it becomes the first of the month and the weather literally suddenly changes immediately. Like it's a gradual process.
Yeah, exactly. And we were the only people in all three lodges that we stayed in. So that was awesome. We basically had the entire Serengeti National Park to ourselves.
And I bet you had amazing service because you were the only guest staying at the hotel.
Yeah, they were all like, because, it's been a year with COVID, and even though Tanzania was open, everyone was very cautious. And so they were like, oh my gosh, guests, we're so excited. So, another one tip would be, at least in America, I'm not sure what the situation is for worldwide, but we have this thing called a car apocalypse. Have you heard of it?
No.
So it's like basically in America with the COVID laws, the airlines got bailed out, but the rental cars did not. So they had to scramble and figure out how best to support themselves during the COVID process when no one was traveling. And unfortunately, that led to them selling a bunch of their inventory. So for us, now that people are traveling in the US, COVID has kind of made rental cars just skyrocket. Like the prices are just kind of triple what they would be normally.
Wow.
So this is not an ad or anything, but we use Truro, which is basically like Airbnb for cars. And we've had really good experience with it. We did it for Montana, we did it for Hawaii, and we've done it for Seattle. Yeah. And we've had great experiences. We're using someone else's car, which is also nice because they have like the chargers for us, and they're like, here's, so it was wonderful. It was awesome. And they met us at the airport, and it was like the normal price of what a rental car would cost.
That's such an interesting point. I always find that the taxis from an airport to your destination are killer. And I swear they sting you just because they think you're a tourist and, you don't know any better, and they can, take a mickey for you. And I remember once, even in my own home, the queue for the taxis was just absolutely massive. And a taxi from our domestic airport to my house, my old house, would normally be about $35. And I remember I was in such a hurry because I had to get home, I think, for Rocco. I think my flight had been delayed. And so I got a driver, and it was $80. And I was like, I think he thought I was a tourist, but anyway, it's just completely and utterly ripped off. I got home quickly, I got to beat the taxi queue, but I really do have found in many destinations, I have been completely taken advantage of and paid an absolute fortune.
Oh, absolutely. Another tip would be compare Airbnb and hotel prices, especially if you're just doing weekend travel. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter which one you stay in, since you're going to be hopefully out of your hotel room or Airbnb most of the time exploring anyways. Yeah. But there's like so many hidden fees I found with Airbnb. Like they'll have a cleaning fee, which is normally included with the hotel, or they'll have, an extra car night fee or something like that, where it's like, what? Like, that's why I'm paying you for the nightly price. Like, it's interesting. So just compare the hotel prices and the Airbnbs when looking around.
Absolutely. I think that's really important.
The next one is, this works, I would say 90% of the time, is to book online, and you'll normally save 10 to 15%. And if you book with the same, like for activities that you want to do. And if you want to, like when we went to Cabo San Lucas, we wanted to do the whale sharks, the snorkeling, and we wanted to do like the reef or something like that. So we booked all 3 activities with the same tour company, and we ended up saving 30% on each one, like our total amount.
Wow. So booking online rather than turning up in person to the tourist booth or, I guess, office, you're going to, it's not only gives you time to shop around and compare, but I find there's better like coupon deals or discount codes that you can use to book. Whereas when you turn up to, those ticketed booths, they kind of know that you're ready to go and you want to do it right then and there, and they can charge you a premium.
Oh, absolutely. And it kind of goes down to the same thing when you're talking about the taxi. Is like, you need to do a tour, and so they're going to jack up the prices.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Plus the ones that you really want to do, you're going to want to book them out so they don't get booked, especially if you're traveling in the high season. You want to have those times, because if it's a good tour and it's reputable and your friends have told you all about it, it's probably going to be sold out.
And even going on the early bird specials, it makes a big difference. It's funny, I get once a month, I reward myself with a massage down at Bondi Beach, and it's, I think, normally $150 for an hour massage or something like that. But if I book that massage for 8 a.m., it's $75 for the hour. And it's amazing. And just simply going at an hour earlier, I get to save 50% off. And for me, that is well worth it, that $75 investment. It's incredible. Book out of hours, like book after work, book, an early bird special. You can really, all those savings really do add up.
Yeah. If you can work remotely, do it. We've had our friends who've met us in Hawaii a couple of times, and they're also based in LA. So they work 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. In Hawaii. And then we have the whole afternoon to do the rest of the things. And then that's what I've been doing here. Is I have my full-time job. So I've just been working remotely here. And then after 2 p.m., we go out and like go crazy, do all the fun stuff.
What an amazing idea. I absolutely love that. I know a lot of people have been doing the sea change and the tree change here in Australia, where, they're saying goodbye to the cities and relocating in a much more, lifestyle orientated destination. But to think about it from a holiday perspective, a working holiday, and you're not eating your annual leave, you're being paid, and you're being smart and savvy with your working hours whilst on holiday. As you said, clocking off at 2:00 in the afternoon, you've got the whole day and night to go and explore. I love that. That's such a fantastic idea. It's about working smarter, guys, not harder.
Yeah. That's another thing is I would say try to protect your paid time off. So set travel goals. For me, I want to go to every national park in the US. I want to do all 50 states and hopefully every country. But
can I just stop you for a second? How many states have you done so far? Because I know you've done a lot just by stalking you.
The US states, I would say probably 35.
35 different states.
I need to go to the South. I haven't done that yet. Yeah. And
how many countries have you done? 12 countries. Oh, wow. In what period of time is that as well?
18 and over.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm 27 now. So I guess 9 years.
9 years. That is seriously impressive.
Thanks.
What a mind-opening experience. It's a luxury, of course, but you've created that yourself through being smart and savvy with money. Fantastic.
Yeah. The $1,000 project is how I'm able to do almost all of this. So if you haven't read that book or Mindful Money, my partner's actually reading Mindful Money when he came over on the plane, because I want him to be on the same, have the same concepts that I do when we're talking about saving.
Oh, so you'll have to send me a photo.
Okay. Yeah. So the next one would be explore your own backyard. So I live in California and we have 9 national parks, and national parks are like my kind of go-to right now. And the reason for that is just because they probably aren't going to be here when my children are old enough to travel by themselves, or they're going to look vastly different than how they do now just because of climate change. And I want to be able to see, that's kind of our goal right now, is to kind of see all of the animals that probably won't be here in 20 years.
Yeah, that's so important. And again, another sad, I guess, luxury, we can see them now. I mean, our children and grandchildren, as you say, are not going to be seeing as many animals. They're not going to be seeing the same habitat. It's really disturbing and upsetting. And it's a great drive for you to obviously not only go there, but also help make other people aware through, I guess, the power of social media, and obviously going there, spending money there, supporting the community and the people who are trying to make a difference there. And of course, leaving no waste there.
Absolutely. And there's these sites that are called like ecotourism, where you can find the tours that are like environmentally friendly, that aren't damaging the oceans, and that aren't damaging, like they'll likely have a limit of like 10 people if you're going into a forest, just because that's kind of the standard and things like that, with leave no trace.
We have a newborn baby, well, she's 3 months, so just to no longer be a newborn baby. And there's no way we're going overseas anytime soon. But what Tom and I said just actually this weekend, that we're going to be doing a lot more road trips and staying within New South Wales, because I've got major anxiety about lockdown and going too far away from home in case there's a case and suddenly you've got a quarantine and all the rules. So we're staying local, but we are going to be exploring New South Wales and jumping in our car, packing a whole pile of snacks and just going an hour or two out of Sydney and seeing all the different places we can discover, and, put some surfboards on the roof of the car and lots of inflatables and just try and have fun. And as I said, get into the bush, get to the beaches, go on bushwalks, go trekking the mountains. There's some places in Newcastle we want to go and explore, Port Macquarie, Port Stephens. Like there's so many. Yamba, one of our most favourite places in New South Wales to discover. And Tom's going to kill me for sharing this because he thinks it's a little secret, but it's Emerald Beach. But it really is absolutely beautiful. And you're right, there's so many places you can explore within your own area. And as I said, and try and leave no trace whatsoever, but make people aware of supporting the environment along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you are interested in flying, I do have a couple of tips there. One would be, I try to just use carry-on bags. I find like I like knowing that my stuff is right above me and not possibly on a different flight.
Yes, I agree with that.
And just like, it takes, when my parents fly, they always do they always do checked luggage. I'm always hazing them for it, but it takes like 20 or 30 minutes for us to get their bags. Exactly. Whereas which again makes the cab queue long, because once everyone has their bags, they're ready to go. Whereas if you have a carry-on, you just pick it up and you get out of there and you're good to go. Also, from an environmental perspective, packing light is also really a great benefit to the environment, because the plane then therefore burns through less fuel. Yeah, absolutely. And if you have a capsule wardrobe, like I know you do, Kenna, and I wear like the same 5 things all the time, you can mix and match. And so you really only need, a couple t-shirts, maybe 2 pairs of pants. Don't forget you're wearing clothes, hopefully that are super clean, so you can wear them as soon as you land and wear them for the next day as well.
I am such a light packer. I went to New York with some girlfriends, pre-kids, and my girlfriends almost had a meltdown or anxiety attack at the airport when they saw how little luggage I had. They thought I'd left a suitcase at home. I'm like, no, this is it. This is all I need. And it's when you wear classic clothes, comfortable clothes that breathe, they're easy to wash, in a hotel sink with a bit of soap. You don't really need that much. It means you've got more space to buy a few things for yourself along the way. It just makes one less thing to sort of have to worry about. And as you said, I've lost luggage before, and it's really stressful as well. But yeah, as you said, pack light, carry on, and also you don't get stung with overweight luggage fees. Right.
So another thing you can do, and you can suggest this to your friend, is as soon as you know where you want to go, set an alert on Google Flights. So let's say I want to go visit you, Kenna, in Sydney. I will set a flight that's LAX to Sydney. And as soon as that flight drops in price, Google will email me and say oh, good, your flight has dropped price, pick it up, buy it. And that's great for when you know that you want to go somewhere, but you don't, you have, a couple months for that flexibility to drop.
Google Flights is something I've never heard of until now.
It's awesome. It is absolutely amazing. Another thing that you can do is if you can do it responsibly, travel credit cards are awesome. That's how you get free upgrades. You're able to travel sometimes in business class or first class, depending on what they call it. Yeah, for free.
Travel insurance as well, quite often with those credit cards. I'm
Yep.
not advocating people use a credit card irresponsibly just to get free flights or free travel insurance or anything like that. Obviously, do your research. Have one credit card that works for you. And if you're someone who doesn't use a credit card very responsibly yet, don't risk it. But I have to say, Tom and I have one credit card. It's a joint credit card. He has one, I have one, but they're the same credit card, the same limit. And we use our points for upgrades all the time. And I have no credit card company makes money out of me because my upgrades exceed my credit card fees 100 times fold. It really is worth it. And obviously, yes, it does mean I have to kind of fly at different times during the day or different days of the week or out of school holidays. But the savings is huge. We use it to upgrade from, as you said, from economy to business class. And the travel insurance alone, travel. If I got a quote for travel insurance before I realized I had it for free on my credit card, my quote was $500. And as soon as I realized I actually had it for free on my card because I booked and paid for my flight and airfare on that credit card, I was like, great. Again, that exceeded the cost of the annual fee of that credit card. But of course, do your research. And I only recommend people have one credit card. You don't need multiple credit cards.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's tons of benefits depending on which card you can get. So the next thing is, I know a lot of people are going to think that travel agents are a time of the past, and there are some you kind of have to be wary of. But if you find a really good one, like talk to your friends, kind of like a financial advisor, talk to your friends, who's reputable, who do you like? Because we found one that we really, really like who owns the lodge that we went to in Tanzania. And we had such a great experience that my partner wanted to go to Asia and I did not want to plan a trip to Asia. I'm working full time. I start my doctorate in January. I just was like, I'm not planning this myself. So we told them that we wanted to go during my school holiday. So we wanted to go somewhere in April. We wanted to go to Asia. We wanted to see the animals. And we told them what our budget was. And we said, we don't care which country, just somewhere on the Asian continent. And they came back and we're going to Malaysia in April and they're planning the entire thing for us and their fees included in our budget. And it's just like such a stress relief that I don't have to plan, especially when it's like a country I don't know anything about, or I don't know about the language. I wouldn't do it for like Europe or someplace that it's pretty easy to plan your own trip. But for the ones that are a little bit more remote, like Tanzania, or we're going to Malaysia, so it's the island of Brunei. That's a little bit more remote than like Sydney or something like that.
It's funny you said I can plan someone's finances for the rest of their life. 40 years, no problem. It's easy. I can do that. Can I book airfare or a holiday or accommodation and throw in a time difference? Oh my goodness, my brain falls apart. I cannot do it. It's this mental block. I don't know. So a travel expert is absolutely, for me, a well worth investment.
Yeah, it's awesome when you find one. My last tip is just be picky with where you want to go. Don't just go someplace just because it's a tradition or just because your friends want to go. Don't forget that you're spending your resources and your time on that trip. So if it doesn't align with your values, just like, being a minimalist, only go where you truly want to go.
That's such a good point, because so often we get distracted or tempted by these amazing offers and think, oh, well, I really wanted to go to, say, Fiji, but, this other destination is having a sale and it's really good value for money. And we'll just go there. And to me, I think, no, it's like, as I say, my book's Mindful Money. Be mindful. If that's where you really want to go to Fiji, and yes, it may cost you a little bit more and you might need to save a little bit harder or delay it for a month or two, travel mindfully. Go to where you really want to go. Don't just get tempted because something's on sale or, it doesn't work like that. Be smart with the investment of your time and the investment of your money. Do what you genuinely want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'm going to end this podcast with one final tip. And this is my personal travel saving tip, and that is stuff school holidays. So this is, whenever we want to go on a holiday, airfares and school holidays, airfares go through the roof and so does accommodation. And I really believe I'm a naughty mom, very irresponsible, but you know what? I pull my kids out of school. Rocco, for example, we've taken him to Emerald Beach a few times. We've taken him to the Gold Coast a few times. You know what? I just think pull the kids out. If you want to go on holiday, go on holiday. Don't worry about school. Obviously, Rocco's younger, and I'm sure there'll be a stage where I can't do this, or I can't do this as much, or he can't miss as much school time. But it's amazing. The school is actually quite understanding about this. And it means that, you know, we travel as a family, and I promise the school, look, he'll do some maths each day. We'll do some reading each day. He's going to learn something, and they're fine. And, you know, we try and make it an educational trip so he's not missing out too much. But it means we aren't traveling in peak time. It means we can pay for airfares, or we can stay at accommodation hasn't gone through the roof. And it also means these destinations aren't packed with people, and you know, lots and lots of families all going nuts, and it can be quite hectic. It means we can have a little bit more of a peaceful holiday with less people, particularly for Tom, because as he says, he hates people. That for us is a really great experience as a family, and it has saved us so much money. And yes, that is a luxury, and it's very irresponsible of me saying this, but you know what? Every now and again, I don't think it's going to, in the long run, it's going to be too much of an issue if you do pull your kids out of school. So don't fall into the trap of thinking, oh, it's school holidays, we can't go away, it's too expensive. Consider, as you say, out of season, out of school holidays, and you know what, your kids are going to be fine. Just you can make it educational along the way. You can do your times table in the car as you're driving down the highway.
Yeah, and kids just they just were remote for the last year in the US, so they can do it.
Exactly. Kelsey, thank you so much for coming on to my podcast this morning. I greatly appreciate it. For everyone who's listening to Kelsey and loves her tips and wants to be inspired by all the different places she's exploring and traveling to, please make sure you are following her on her own Instagram account, which is Carry On with Kels.
Yep, like carry on luggage.
carry on luggage. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for listening. If you could please take a moment to leave me a rating and a review, I would greatly appreciate it, because just like every dollar counts towards your financial goals and dreams, so does every rating and a review. So it inspires me and motivates me to keep going and creating this free content for you. All right, everyone, have a fantastic week ahead, and I will see you on Thursday on YouTube for a fresh, new, inspiring financial video for you. Ciao for now.